Coach, it wasn't to be. It was ultimately quite a marginal sort of thing with the ball and bat. Where do you think Bangladesh came up short?
Well, first of all, there's a lot of disappointed cricketers in the changing room and coaches. In fact, all the members of staff as well. We're desperate to do well in this competition and try and take it further, but ultimately today wasn't to be. We played against a good team, a side that are, I think, currently ranked number one in the world. We pushed them, but we made a few early mistakes, and I think that you need to get out the blocks really well against a team like India. And we were playing catch-up for a lot of that match. So playing catch-up, we gave them a bit of a shock, but ultimately it was too hard work at the end.
Coach, restraining India to 3-1-4, considering the way they were going at some point in the middle overs, you think you did very well to restrain somebody like an MS Dhoni, who's a very, very accomplished finisher?
Yeah, I thought we did fantastically well after that opening blitz by Rohit. And we were very, very happy at the halfway stage, only to be chasing that score. It could well have been 370, 380, even 400 at one stage. So we were delighted that we showed a lot of spirit and a lot of fight to come back. But ultimately, it was that real start that, if we'd have just started a little bit better, to beat India, you've got to play at your best, and we weren't there in that first hour. But it was pleasing to see some fight. I think it's a reflection of the team. We've only picked up the 3 victories, but we've pushed a lot of these big teams throughout the competition, and with a little bit of luck, we may well have just beaten one of these top 4.
Coach, can you tell us a bit about Saifuddin, and especially when he came into bat, he had a very impressive innings. In future, do you see him possibly moving up the order and becoming, say, a frontline all-rounder?
Well, I think we've got to be very careful, because this is what tends to happen. People get runs down the order and everybody starts talking about them going up the order. But actually, in the modern game, you need guys who are coming at number 8, 9, 10 and even 11 who can win games for you with the bat. So you start putting them too high and you still have a problem in your number 8, 9, 10, 11 positions. So the answer to your question is, he played really well at number 8. I think he's a terrific number 8. He's Bangladesh's number 8. If he goes in at number 8, we're in a good position. We also need numbers 9 and 10 and 11 to score runs as well. So ultimately, it's a team game. We've got batters to score runs. We've got all-rounders to score runs. And I think the best teams can manage to do that.
Yeah. Coach, for the major part of the run chase, Bangladesh were in the game despite wickets falling at regular intervals. Do you think the soft dismissals in the end made the difference?
Yeah, I think in the defence of some of the batsmen, the toss was crucial. And you saw there, as you saw in the England match, that the cutters and the slower balls were quite difficult. So when you get out to a slower ball and you chip it up into the ring, it looks a really soft dismissal. But sometimes you've got to give credit for the bowlers, for deceiving the batsman, and also sometimes the wicket. The wicket obviously proved to be a little bit more difficult in the second innings. And I think the toss was probably worth 20 or 30 runs, and maybe 29 runs would have been an even game.
Coach, I want to ask something which is not from this match. There was a lot of talk about the format, the new format that we are having this time. Earlier we saw in the previous editions a lot of one-sided matches, meaningless matches. This time, with just a handful of games remaining, the last 4 are still not identified. Do you think this format is more entertaining for the fans and for the players?
Well, I think there's been some great games of cricket in this competition, and I've really enjoyed this format. I actually thought, when I looked at the format before we got here, I thought there'd be a few dead rubbers that would mean some, I wouldn't say boring cricket, but less as exciting games as there has been towards the end. It seems as though the top teams who may be qualifying played maybe some easier games earlier in the competition, almost like it was seeded. I'm sure that wasn't the case, but no, I think it's been a very good format. I think it gives everybody a chance to beat each other. You play each other just the once. So I've really enjoyed the format, and I wish luck to the guys who were in that semi-final. I wish it was us, but I'm very proud of the way we've played against a lot of the big teams, and I think that maybe we'll be the people's team for the amount of fight that we've shown against some of these big teams. So I am very proud.
Coach, after post World Cup, a fresh start needs to be made. Like the captain has said that probably he would love to continue for a bit more time. So do you think that lessens the chance of including at least one impact bowler in the side, probably a young bowler looking at the future? How do you look at it?
Well, first and foremost, with Mash and his situation with the board and all this talk that's been going on for the last 2 weeks or so, that really is questions for the board and questions for Mash to answer. I can't really answer that. We've also got to have a bowler good enough, capable enough to actually replace Mash. Everybody forgets that. We haven't got too many of the taller, quicker bowlers, which is what we're trying to get into test matches. As soon as we find them and as soon as they're starting to do well, I'm sure that we'll be wanting to get them in the team. But as far as the first question, really, that's a very difficult question for me to answer, and I don't really want to get involved in that, if that's okay.
Coach, how do you rate Tamim Iqbal's performance in this World Cup? Do you think he was a little bit unlucky in many occasions?
Well, I would say how wholehearted has been his performances. He would have loved to have scored more runs because he's got a lot of pride in the amount of runs that he scores. But he's been very wholehearted and tried his very, very best. Sometimes it's not to be. He played some great shots today. I thought today was going to be the day. But sadly, it wasn't to be. And that's cricket. Sometimes the harder you try, the worse it gets. But certainly as far as his efforts for Bangladesh are concerned in trying to contribute, trying to get some match-winning innings, then, sadly it hasn't happened, but he's tried his very, very best. And I'm sure on another World Cup, because he's young enough to be there in 4 years' time, maybe it'll be his World Cup that time round.
Coach, taking ahead the Mashrafi question, I'd like to ask you, it's often said that the captain leads from the front, but today, as we saw, right through the tournament as well as today, we saw that, after bowling the first over, he had to actually pull himself back. Does it really get a little disappointing when the captain isn't performing at the level that he has in the past?
Well, I'm sure Mash would be a little bit disappointed with that first over, but I actually thought it was a very brave decision to take himself off. Sometimes as a captain, when somebody has a bad over, it's still a brave decision to take them off. To take yourself off is even braver, I felt, especially after it was the first over of the game. But he did come back, and he did come back better. So he did show that he was clawing his economy rate back. Mash is a very proud person, and I'm sure Mash will look at his performances so far and wish they were a little bit better. But having said that, and it's important that you do quote this second part as well, is that he's tried his hardest all the way through. The one thing about Mash is that he tries every single ball. He doesn't know any other way. He's had 70 operations and he's had a fantastic, wonderful career of over 200 ODIs, and he has not stopped trying throughout all of those ODIs, I know that.
Rohit Sharma has made a bit of a habit of punishing sides when they drop him early. When that happened, when Tamim dropped him, did you fear it might be as costly as it ended up being?
I've watched a lot of cricket over the years and played a lot of cricket, and I know that any drop can be costly. You don't know how costly it's going to be. I was praying that he would hit another one up in the air a little bit sooner, but I know exactly what you're angling towards. And Rohit Sharma, what a wonderful batsman he is in world cricket, and you give guys like him a chance or Kohli a chance, and you know what, you may well pay the price. Again, the person who dropped it was Tamim, and he's developed into one of our safer pair of hands in the outfield. So it was a little bit of a surprise, but he's human, and we're all human. I've dropped lots of catches in my life. I think everybody who's played the game has dropped catches, but sometimes they can be very, very costly, and that one proves to be.
Coach, Tamim Iqbal, was played on 3 times in this tournament. Do you think his problem was more of a technical, or it is just his mental adjustment?
No, I don't think it was necessarily a technical matter. This slowish type of wicket, especially with cutters being bowled, sometimes when you're angling the ball a little bit with a 45-degree bat, it can be a little bit dangerous. Mozadek did one as well when he got out. But, I think on another day, I can't remember who they played, but Rohit Sharma had one for his missed leg stump in his first ball he faced. He went on to get 100. These things happen, and sometimes you have a bit of luck, it misses the stumps, and sometimes it doesn't. So, no, we shouldn't really start castigating or having a go at Tamim. He's a wonderful player. He played some great shots today, and if you know anything about batting, it takes one ball to get you out, and it might take one half mistake and you're a goner, and it's a tough job as a batsman. The bowler does get a few more chances in the over to come back. The batsman doesn't.
Coach, the bowling, in every game almost went for above 300. You ended up chasing big scores every time. And do you think that's a huge area of concern going forward for Bangladesh cricket, that you need to discover bowlers who are able to restrict sides or bowl them out?
Yeah, I think you're right about the scores, but our makeup as a team tends to be about keeping control if we can and trying to frustrate the opposition into getting those wickets. Other teams have got different types of bowlers. They can be quite aggressive bowlers. You've seen the likes of Ferguson bowling good heat and good speed. You've seen Archer bowling with good speed. You've seen some of the wrist spinners who really do attack as well and take wickets. We're a little bit more, although we have variety, we're a little bit more of a controlling bowling group, and our way of taking wickets is to control, which is why really that first 10, 12 overs, it was a bit disappointing, because the way we will get wickets in the power play is stopping the opposition scoring and them going for it. So it was a little bit disappointing to be a little bit sloppy in that first sort of hour.
Coach, considering that you chased 323 in 41 overs very successfully against an aggressive West Indian bowling, what did you make of the 315 chase? At what stage did you feel, how optimistic were you at the beginning of the innings, and what time did you feel that it's up, it's beyond your...
Well, going back to Taunton, it was an absolute belter of a wicket, and a very fast outfield, and once the two guys got in, Litton Das and Saqib, then it was very difficult controlling them. This was a little bit different. Without being rude to the West Indies, there was more variety in this attack from India, and the way they bowled their cutters and slower balls and Yorkers was excellent today. So the task was far more difficult. So I am still proud of the way we fought all the way to the end. But it was an easier task simply because the conditions at Taunton were far different to here, and certainly easy for batting if batsmen got in.
And today, at what stage did you give up?
Sorry?
What stage did you give up?
Oh, look, I never give up. I don't think anybody should ever give up in a competitive sport or in any sport. But no, I think that losing some of the top order, if they'd have gone on and just made a few more runs here and there, I felt that we could have got there with the likes of Sabir and Saifuddin down the order and Mash with a few runs. But we were probably just a little bit too far out. And of course, you've got the quality of somebody like Bumrah coming in and bowling how he can towards guys who are maybe lesser batsmen, and maybe that's the only result. So possibly, when it seemed, you looked at Sabir getting out, I thought, are we going to be able to do it now? But Saifuddin put up a really good show for us, and he fought hard all the way to the end.
Coach, next up is Pakistan. Pakistan were hoping for a favour from India by, that they would beat England to reach the semi-finals, to help them reach the semi-finals. Now, Pakistan do have a chance to reach the semi-finals if they win the game against Bangladesh, and they again would be looking for favours, but of course, matches can't be decided like that.
No, the Pakistan game on Friday, I'm really looking forward to that game. I think we beat them in the Asia Cup, and they'll want to change that. We showed in some of the games we've played this year that we're going to be a difficult side for Pakistan to beat. We know we'll have to play well again because they've run into a little bit of form now, the back end of the tournament. But no, we're confident. We don't want to leave these shores with a defeat to Pakistan. We want to leave these shores with a victory against Pakistan. So as far as how we'll go about it, hopefully very professional, and we'll fight really, really hard. We'll be desperate to get points against Pakistan.
Coach, talking about Shomo, Liton, Sabir and Musaddiq, there must have been some expectations from them. Two parts to the question: how well have they done in your eyes? And as a coach to young batsmen, how much have you contributed to whatever they have done in the last sort of 18 months, 12 months?
Yeah, I think we also must add Mustafizer into that. He's 5 wickets today as well, and Mahedi has not played today, but he's contributed in this World Cup. So, and also Mozadek. So you might have mentioned Mozadek, but I think one of the things we are starting to see is some of these guys. I call them medium sort of players. You've got guys who are very experienced and been here a while, and then you've got your medium, and then maybe the junior type players. But these guys are now showing that they can contribute regularly in international cricket. That's pleasing for me. I'm not going to take credit for that. I think the players themselves have worked really, really hard. All our coaches have worked hard with them. One thing I will say is that we've been trying to give these guys responsibility to improve. What we've been trying to do is let them make the decisions rather than tell them what to do all the time. That way they learn quicker. And I think that they feel as though they can be responsible now. And I think that may well have helped in their development. I know for a long time in Bangladesh we've been wanting these guys to develop. And I think we're starting to see that now because we're giving them the opportunity to develop. Thank you.